Put in there.
Yes.
Take as many selfies as you need to.
Alright, season 4. So, when is that coming out again?
October 13th. Lucky 13.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yes. Real soon.
I hope it's lucky. I hope it's not unlucky.
It's gonna be lucky.
It's like everyone's like, I hate this season.
No, it's gonna be very lucky.
So,
No, go ahead.
okay. Yeah, I was just gonna ask, just a very kind of broad, simple question. What kind of new things can we expect to see from season 4, especially considering that we got a lot of nice backstory and cliffhangers kind of coming off of last season?
I think we can expect to see a little bit of a shake-up on both sides. We've got the Gar Empire, which has Lotork trying to lead it, and Zarkon's just woken back up. And so we'll see how does he like that? How does he like what Lotor's done? And then we've also got this, clearly new Paladin crew that's kind of trying to figure things out, and a little bit of Keith's reluctance to accept his leadership, but Shiro, trying to coach him and help him along. So there's a little bit of.
We've got the coalition that's still building and building, and trying to make that the scale of that battle they can bring to the Galra Empire even bigger. Flipping planets, making them, turning them back to
flipping them, selling them for a profit.
Yeah, it's a new show on HGTV. Planet flipping.
They just have Shiro and Sven.
Yeah, there you go. I like that very much.
That's an amazing idea.
I am a producer now, though.
There
We'll give you credit.
And then actually, I'm just going to kind of piggyback off that, because one thing I love about the show is you guys do really great personal character studies, which I appreciate. And like you were saying, with both sides now, we have these personal issues of Zarkon and Lotor, and then also the shifting team dynamic. How important, was it for you guys to have these kind of interpersonal issues on both sides?
I think it was something that kind of evolved organically a little bit. It was something that we knew was a possibility, but it just so happened in our story that they ended up kind of hitting at the same time, and it was a really nice duality.
The duality sort of struck us after the fact. We knew we wanted to build some complexity. We didn't want Lotor to just be like a mustache twirl.
No, there's so much more than that.
Yeah. So there's a ton more there, and we knew we wanted that. It's just it was interesting to see them sort of veer off and kind of mirror each other in a weird way. I mean, honestly, without all the character stuff, you can get in all the battles you want. None of it's going to matter. You got to care about what's really going on.
I noticed that Lotor is much more of an open-minded character as far as who he lets into his in this company. Everyone else is very strictly pure-blooded Galra, whereas he has
these half.
Half
Galra,
people.
and they're all women too. So was that something? I barely remember anything from the original series. Was that a conscious decision to?
It was a conscious decision for us, but it wasn't something that was straying from the original series. I think Lotor was probably, there was always a little bit of kind of a friction. I think in Goline, the Beast King Goline, the original series, there was definitely friction between Zarkon and Lotor's characters. In Voltron, there was some, but not quite as much.
It was kind of goofier. It was just the goofy version of what was
lighter take on it.
Yeah.
We knew we wanted to bring some of that in, but we wanted to kind of, I think, amp it up a little bit and just explore themes that still happen today, in the same way that Zootopia touched on some really incredible themes in their own world. We kind of feel like we need to do that too, and just kind of show.
Societally, there was that moment where those two generals were talking while Lotor was battling in the gladiator pit, and they sort of said to each other, I hear he works with a bunch of half-breeds. Clearly there's, a sort of hierarchy within the Galra that don't believe in any of that. So he's already a rebel in that sense. I think we made sort of this weird analog to the original, where he had this harem of women kind of around him in the original series, and we didn't go out there saying we're going to do the same thing. We just knew that he saw value in what the Galra might have.
Looked down upon.
Looked down upon it and sort of cast aside.
He's just looking. He wants to win anyway.
Yeah.
And if the person's the best for the job, then they're the best for the job. It doesn't matter
who they are. Right.
Yeah.
Like, actually, part of what I love about him in that moment, what you were describing when he was fighting, is that he showed mercy at the time, and you find out that he was just playing an angle right there. It's like, I love that. It's like, that makes me respect you in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, as a villain, it's like, I don't really like you, but I respect you.
He knows how to work the crowd.
Yes.
He knows how to work the audience. And you know, I do think some of that, there's an element to him that's very genuine, but at the same time, he's just getting the job done.
Yeah.
You know, and he's doing it the most efficient way possible.
I was thinking with the Voltron coalition, are we going to see like some characters like Shay and the Balmerins maybe coming back?
I think it's safe to say that we'll definitely see some characters come back. They've made a lot of allies on the road, and they're going to make some new ones too. But why make allies if you're not going to use them?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. They're gathering up the forces they already have, and then taking those forces, go and try to recruit more and more.
Again, kind of like to that point, do we also get to explore any more of the kind of alternate universe stuff? Because we got a nice episode with the return of Sven. Is that another thing where like they all just go and recruit like 20 other teams of Voltrons?
I mean, we'd love to. Yeah, that's budgetarily that gave me like a heart attack, like right here at this table. But yeah, I mean, the possibility is always open when you sort of open that door. Like to other realities, it's always lingering out there. Exactly when or how or if that's going to play out, we can't really say. I think we're just excited that we created like a multiverse possibility.
Within Voltron, that's awesome. Actually, my question would be, because we were talking about before of how you picked off like some things about the characters before from the original show. How did you know like what things you wanted to keep and what things you wanted to change when adapting to this new series?
I think we just kind of had to follow our gut a little bit. There were things about characters that we felt kind of stepped on other characters a little bit, like they were kind of in the same area. And when we made adjustments like Shiro, we kind of made him the leader of the group. So we're like, well, we don't necessarily need Keith to be another perfect leader. So we make those adjustments, and we kind of just look at the characters and we say, us as fans, would we accept this character, or would this character be a complete betrayal to what we did with Voltron? And if we're down with it, we just hope that other people are also okay with it.
It's so funny because when we first were making the rounds and doing this, you don't realize how much your own investment in what you're telling now sort of affects you. So like, I grew up with the original series. I had the Metal Voltron, I watched the cartoons, and we were doing one of these, and I was like, well, Shiro was the leader in the original, and I was like, nope. And I was like, hey, he's right? She's like, no, sorry, man. Like, it was Keith. And I was like, really? And it just, and now it just feels natural. It makes sense. So it's that thing. You sort of go with your gut and go with what feels right. And, it ends up sort of taking the spot. Yeah, it worked out.
One thing I wanted to say, and I'm sure you guys heard it before, leading into season 1, was that I'm glad that Pidge is a girl, and she's like the Wonder Kid. And I was talking about this with my roommate earlier this morning, because she hasn't watched this series, and so she was kind of under the impression that she might have been like a sort of a transgender type character. But I mean, was that kind of the idea going in? Like maybe she was kind of a low-key transgender type, or she was just wanting to?
She's just Pidge.
Just Pidge.
You know what I mean? I think she is who she is.
Yeah. I think the idea with Pidge is that she's there to represent pretty much anyone who feels like they just don't fit a gender norm.
Yeah.
Allura is definitely a female, and she's the female that I always watched in all the shows growing up. She's clearly there. We've definitely evolved her and made her a much stronger, self-assured person. She's not the exact replica of the original Allura. But when I was growing up, there were never any girls that weren't pretty. It's like pretty much all of the role models were pretty girls.
That weren't like classically
pretty. And so if I didn't feel pretty, then I felt like, well, I can't be that girl. And I was like, well, you don't have to be a supermodel to be a woman and to be valuable. And that's something that I think we just need to get out there. Like, you don't have to look the part. You don't even have to feel the part. You can still just be a completely valid, valuable human being, just from what you bring to the team.
I think it's tough because we obviously want to give representation to literally everybody. We want to have this show be the most inclusive show possible. It's impossible to do, so on some level you have to allow people to come at it and
to find their own
representation within the show, because
that maybe aren't paved into.
yeah, we can't necessarily build it outright. So I think Pidge definitely became that for a lot of people, which is awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. That was a heavy question.
One last question. All right. I guess I'll ask that. As both of you have worked in the cartoon industry for years, have you found that trying to explore these different things, making it as inclusive as you can, kind of doing the things that you do with it narratively and exploring these social issues, have you found that that's something that's become like easier as time has gone on? Is there something that's of value working with a streaming service like Netflix as opposed to like a network? Like, how have you seen the industry just evolve in, as far as what you guys can do?
It's evolved, for sure. I mean, it was a non-issue. Like in the past, it was just territory you didn't delve into, and now
It has evolved. It's still
the world's evolved.
Very situational. I think there are just different properties and different studios that have different feelings about things that you can touch on and how far you can take something, being that it is still considered a children's property.
Yeah.
And so we just try to do the absolute best job we can of representing those people within the parameters we're given.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, when we first got in the industry, this was subject matter that was just not on the table. So the fact that we're here talking about this openly, it's all
It's a
it's
a step in the right
It's a step in the right direction. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, yeah, that's all the time that we have. Thank you guys so much.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, have a good rest of your
Appreciate it.
con.
Yeah, you as well.
Yeah.